Welcome to your daily stretch session for all stages of pregnancy. This is a great one to incorporate early on in your pregnancy journey to help alleviate any tightness, any tension, aches and pains that might be arising, and to simply provide a bit of mobility to all the major joints so that you can kind of be preemptive with your mobility practice so that you're avoiding kind of the chronic fatigue and kind of tightness that can happen throughout pregnancy. So we'll start in a seated position. So it helps to have a chair, a comfortable surface to sit on. You can even do this on the side of your bed or the side of your couch. Just make sure that your feet are resting completely on the floor so you're nice and comfortable there. And your spine is lifting up nice and tall. Just take a few deep breaths here. And exhale. Big inhale breath. And exhale. One more like that. Big inhale. And exhale. You can take your hands to the tops of your thighs here. We'll move through seated cat and cow spine. So as you inhale, move your pubic bone toward the floor, toward your seat. Lift up through the spine. Maybe send your gaze up, stretch, open, expand across the chest. And then from the tailbone, gently curl under, round the spine. Feel that wave ripple through the bones of the spine, chin to chest. Feel the back of the neck. Inhale, open, extend, stretch the spine. So this simple pattern, exhale, round, can tell us so much about how the spine is being mobilized as we articulate bone by bone, open, stretch across the chest, gaze up, send your head back. Exhale, round, wave through the spine, chin to chest. So any points where you might be feeling stuck or maybe you feel a bit of pulling, a bit of tightness, this simple activity of really waving through the spine can help unfreeze those areas, let you feel a little bit unstuck. It helps you connect deeply to the breath. So at a minimum, I like to practice cat and cow every single day during pregnancy and even outside of pregnancy, just as an entry point to the spine to collect a bit of data about what's going on in the body and come back to a neutral spine. You can take one hand to the side of your chair or your surface, and we'll reach the opposite arm up and over. So really lengthen the sides of the waist. And here I want you to focus on not crunching into the side that you're leaning toward, but lengthening that side equal to the stretched side. You can take a hand behind your head, maybe spin the elbow open to stretch the chest. Come back through center, other side. So that hand comes down, reach up and over. Just notice any areas where you might be carrying unnecessary tension. So around the shoulders and the neck. Maybe take your head behind the head, open the elbow nice and wide. And slowly come back up through center. From here, press firmly into your feet. We'll lift up off that chair for a moment. And here, I'm going to turn the chair to face me. You can simply move your body around the chair as is appropriate. And I want you to be kind of a generous distance from the chair, so maybe 1 to 2 feet. And then we'll slide the hands down the thighs, bring your hands to that chair into a forward bend. Shift the weight onto the ball mounds of your feet, almost like your heels are going to lift. Keep a generous bend in the knees. So you want your hips to stay directly over the ankles. And then move your pubic bone behind you, so toward the back of the room, back in space. If you need a little bit more sensation, you're not feeling this in the hamstring or the low back, you can start to lower onto forearms. Just wherever you need to be to create a subtle but sustainable sensation. So something that's not your max effort, not your maximum stretch, but that is just mobilizing the backs of the legs here. You might rock the hips side to side. And as you fold forward, if you feel any pressure in the face or behind the eyes, you can simply gaze slightly forward just without crunching into the back of the neck. Then here, bend and straighten, alternate knees. Feel the outer legs come alive, lengthen. So as you bend into a knee, really root down through the opposite foot, through the knife edge. And then both legs come to neutral. Just rock the hips side to side. If you're on your forearms, slowly come back up to hands. Deep bend in the knees. We're going to step the feet a bit wider now. Again, doesn't need to be your widest stance. We want to be able to still hug to the center and activate the inner thighs to support the pelvic floor here. But now we're just changing the stance slightly to target more of the inner legs in this forward bend. And here, maybe rocking the hips gently side to side a little bit more, gives you more space. You might have greater access to move with the legs a bit wider apart. See if you can lengthen both sides of the waist, all of the spine evenly. The last few breaths here. And then if you're on your forearms, come back up to your hands once again. And we'll offer a rotation. So if you find that your surface is pretty high, you can always lower onto a forearm, or you can keep that hand pressing down. Reach the right arm skyward, twist open. As best as you can, keep the hips pointing forward. So we're using this twist to get into the upper back, the back of the heart. And then exchange sides. Lift the left arm open. So notice if your hips want to come along for the ride to compensate for tightness in the back of the heart. Instead, square the hips, press through the heart. And slowly come back out. From here, I want you to turn your heels in, toes out. We're coming into a deep squat, so you might have to shorten the stance ever so slightly. And for this deep squat, just keep your hands on that surface. So you have a slightly forward lean in the spine, and you're stretching deeply into the hips. So we're elongating, creating space in the shoulders, and also deeply stretching the hips. And here, rather than gripping in the pelvic floor, just experience what it's like to soften, to relax the pelvic floor in this deep squat. You might, again, rock side to side. So this rocking, this sway will be a natural state as you enter life with a newborn. You'll find that you're standing in line somewhere, or you're in the shower, you're cooking, you have a sway. It's that continuous sway of a new mama when your body's just in that muscle memory of rocking your newborn. So you can start that now, start connecting to that now. And then we'll slowly straighten the legs, start to turn the toes in. We're coming into a supported downward dog. So you might have to walk your feet slightly further back, stretch the arms straight, soften the chest toward the thighs. So again here, moving the inner thighs back in space, tilting the pubic bone back behind you. So navel moves toward the pubic bone. Relax the head and neck, maybe move side to side, bend and straighten, maybe pedal out the feet. And then we'll gently walk back in toward your chair. I'm going to have you turn now so that your hip is facing the chair. And with that side, we're going to come into a lunge. So step one knee behind you, nice and easy, nice and slow. And then the hip that is closest to the chair, that's your bent knee. We're going to reach the opposite arm up and over. So working into a deep psoas stretch here. As you lean up and over, really press into the shin so that you feel kind of that stretch across the hip flexor, the front of the hip. Big breath in and slow breath out. Come back up through center. And then from here, I want you to lean forward into that front knee so you get a deeper stretch in the psoas. And notice what happens as you come into this stretch. Do you start to grip in the pelvic floor? Do you start to grip in the hip flexors? I want you to consciously relax the base of the spine to really receive this stretch. It takes some really intentional effort to let go in the hip flexors. It's a very kind of primal muscle that activates anytime we're under stress, anytime we're feeling worry or anxiety. That muscle just intuitively contracts to protect us. So it takes an equal effort to relax, an equal conscious effort to let go. Slowly come back through center. And then we'll switch sides. So you come through your kneeling position and we'll turn. So now your other side is closest to the chair. And we'll lift the opposite arm up and over, feeling just that length in the psoas. Press firmly through the shin so that you're lengthening up and out. Breathing all the while, those slow, steady breaths. And then come back through center, release your arm, and we'll shift the weight forward. So again, creating more length across the back hip flexor, the front of the thigh. So imagine pressing your inner knee down into the mat and then lengthening up and away. And as you do that, softening, letting go, relaxing. See if you can soften the muscles in the shoulders if they tend to tense up in the presence of this deep sensation. Last few breaths here. And slowly start to come out and back to your kneeling position. So from this psoas stretch, we're coming into an IT band stretch. So for this one, I like to have the forearm on your surface in a way that you can release the tension between the neck and shoulders. So just be mindful of shrugging the shoulders here. Keep it nice and long. And then here you're going to step the outside foot straight out in front of you. And then with some support, straighten that bottom leg. Here, then, I want you to soften your hip down. So this one, a bit more challenging to get into. So if it feels uncomfortable or you have too much strain in the shoulder, you can always skip this one. But wherever you are, you might just slightly lift and lower that bottom leg. So lift and lower the hips. This requires quite a bit of stabilizing strength in that supporting arm. So you can always bring the opposite arm down as well. And then just release, rest here for a moment. Feel that outer hip stretch. Breathe through. It might be pretty intense. This one can alleviate sciatica, maybe some low back pain. And then to come out, lower that back knee down and slowly press yourself back up. We'll switch sides now. So transition through kneeling. Come to the other side, forearm is down, step that outside foot in front, lengthen the bottom leg out and lower. So again, at first, just kind of flossing the nerve that comes down the back of the leg and then relaxing into the stretch. So letting that hip go to gravity, just releasing all of the weight. This one, very intense, whether you are in pregnancy or not. Breathe through it here. Really imagine elongating from the knife edge of your bottom foot all the way to the hip, maybe even into the sides of the spine. And slowly come out. So back knee comes down. We slowly transition through our kneeling position. And take weight into the hands now to step one foot up and then the other. We'll have a few final seated stretches here to close this daily stretch practice. It's short and sweet. So we're coming into our seated figure 4 stretch. So make sure your feet are resting on the ground. Cross one ankle over the opposite knee. You might feel sensation right away and need not make any more adjustments. But if you're looking for deeper sensation, take your hand to the inner thigh, press down and forward. As you do that, try not to twist the pelvis, so keep the pelvis nice and even. Big breath in. If you need more sensation, you can always fold forward slightly and breathe. Slowly lift up to exchange sides. So that foot comes down, across the opposite ankle. Again, use your hand to press down and forward on that inner thigh. And then if you need deeper sensation, you're folding forward over that bent knee. Breathing here. So again, you might feel in the presence of that initial sensation, your body might tend to tense up. The muscles feel tighter. It feels like a stronger stretch. But then with your breath, soften, relax. Let your body know it's safe. It's okay to let go. That's part of this kind of primal activation that happens in the hips and glutes. It takes some very deep conscious effort to let go. Slowly come up, release that foot down. Take your feet slightly wider than hips width apart. Take a big inhale, lift through the spine. Our last stretch, forward bend. So really kind of reach forward as far as belly allows. You can turn the head in, relax the crown of the head towards the floor. So you might be maybe on the elbows on knees, or maybe you're reaching hands toward the ankles, just wherever you can be to get that kind of inward moving. Gaze down at your belly, maybe bring hands to belly, and breathe. This is a great one to use kind of first thing in the morning to shake off any aches and pains from the night. And it also works in the evening to prepare your body for deep rest. Slowly, bone by bone, roll back up to a comfortable seat. That is our daily stretch practice. I want to thank you so much for being here. I hope you'll incorporate this practice as often as feels comfortable for you to help keep your body moving and feeling good throughout your pregnancy. So thank you again for being here and for letting your body be moved.